Oh, g'day there, rugby league fans around the country and indeed around the world, and welcome into the Mad Monday podcast again for another Monday. My name is Manaia Stewart, and I am joined down the line from a gloomy-looking Waihi by Ben Hurley. Good afternoon, Ben. How you getting on, mate?
Well, look, let's just say that the weather is kind of reflecting my mood. This NRL season is just a gloomy day with patches of drizzle.
It is. I think that game kind of summed up our whole season, didn't it? We lost to the Dolphins 30-32 in Golden Point, and it just summed up like an okay start, patches where we completely fell off, some really heartbreaking 100-metre breakaway tries. Then we come right back into it, only to get beaten not just by a drop goal, but by a 2-point field goal, which I think was quite poetic in the way that we lost that, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've never scored a 2-point field goal, right?
I can't remember one.
In the Warriors' history. I mean, we barely scored a field goal. It's just not something we do well.
No.
And, as exciting as it is going to Golden Point, my heart just sinks because it's just not something we're good at.
No, and I think somebody mentioned on one of the Reddit threads that I was trawling this morning looking for some sort of glimmer of hope, and they'd done the numbers on if we had have made all of our kicks, where we'd be sitting, we'd actually be inside the top 8. There's so many of these games where it's like, yeah, we lost a couple of kicks here. We don't really have a kicking option. In defense of that, though, I would say, because someone came up to me this morning and said, how come we don't have a kicker? And it's like, we do. We've got 4 of them. This is just the 4th one. You know what I mean? It shouldn't actually be on his shoulders. Is it as simple as we missed all our kicks?
Look, no, it's certainly not. I've got something to say about Chanel Harris-Tavita, and I professed this in our thread last night. I think he's a great player. I'm just not sure he's a half. I'm not sure he has those little, little skills those little skills, kicking skills, and he does make the odd mistake. I would like to see him put on 10 kgs and move into the 13 role. I think he's really good on defence. He's a brilliant reader of the game. And, why not have a ball playing, possibly kicking number 13 in the style of like a Brad Fittler?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I do know he is actually quite a lot smaller than you'd think he'd be. I remember when he first started, this was a few years ago now, I interviewed him, and this was when he'd just broken into the squad. And I said, because we actually had, I think, snackachingy chips in the studio, and I was offering them around, like, you guys are allowed to eat these or what? And he goes, yeah, I'm allowed to eat anything I want. The coaches want me to put on as much muscle, as much weight as I possibly can. So, yeah, I'm with you. I reckon just go hell for leather this summer, tuck in, Christmas time, go nuts, and then come back with a bit of bulk. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think if Metcalf can come back next year, and I love Tamati Martin in the halves. I just think he's so good, and he was one of our best players the other day. But he can't do everything. He's so solid. So him and Metcalf in the halves, and Chanel Harris-Tavita, potentially replacing like a Jazz and Dylan Walker. We are going to be short of a ball playing back rower next year unless we sign someone. It's not a win all. It's not a cure all, rather, but it's a possibility.
It's not the panacea. For me though, despite the fact that we lost that, and reflecting on the fact that it was a loss, it's heartbreaking, etc., etc. I actually really enjoyed that game, particularly the last 20 minutes. There was a turning point. The first 60 was like, fucking hell, here we go again. Then the last 20, and I actually had to jot it down just so that I could remember the sequence of events that turned it around for us. It was Ali Leatawa makes a break. He goes the length of the field, and then a tackle later, or 2 tackles later, he crosses the line and fumbles the ball cold. At that point, Ed Cossey, who's running through celebrating what was a botched try, gives him the flying people's knee from hell to the side of the head, knocked him stone cold. The only dude who showed up with his boots laced up on Sunday, he got knocked out. HIA, he's gone. He'll be gone next week because he didn't come back on. A couple of plays later, we then do score. Tamari Martin and Tom Ali, they bonk heads. and all of a sudden there's 4 concussions out on the field, and that is what turned, at least around the commentary, we were just saying, everybody, out there, high-speed hongies for the Warriors, get in behind your team, headbutt whoever you're watching the game with, text coming in, I've headbutted the dog, I've headbutted my nan, I've headbutted the mirror, they've all been sent for HIAs. And I think that turned the game around, at least just for the commentary, but it felt like for the Warriors too.
I mean, potentially it's good that we're having a terrible season, otherwise there could have been more injuries. More tries, more celebrations equals more injuries.
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking, God, if we win this, we have to fully lean into high-speed hongies for the Warriors. It's the only way around. I went over and headbutted Chris in the commentary just to get a bit of money going.
I mean, a hongie from Chris is quite a heavy-duty thing anyway with his schnoz.
Area code hongies going around at the ground. It was O'Sullivan that iced it. CHT had a couple of cracks at it. He shanked both of them, but I think they were under a fair bit of pressure. Would you have liked to see Tamaiti have a shot at one of those drop goals? Yeah,
I don't know. Is that part of his skill set? I mean, I'm sure he can kick a ball, but it's funny how they tend to have specialists for these sorts of things, don't they?
Yeah, because when and he missed it, but Jermaine Osako had a crack from it felt like halfway, and when it got to the post, it was still going up. It was mammoth shot, but he missed it, thankfully, but in the end it didn't matter. I think the other one, I dug out a bit of a statistic here for you. Webby only used 6 interchanges on the weekend. Now, you're allowed 10, and I think that would shock anyone who hadn't watched the Warriors this season, but anyone that has, that did Lussick even come on? I don't think he did.
No, played 0 minutes.
Played 0 minutes, so on top of the fact that we're already struggling as a squad, doesn't it feel like we're playing with one hand tied behind our backs when he's not putting these guys on?
Yeah, it's weird with Lussick, isn't he? Because he really is can only really play one position. That's why I think we are going to miss Jazz next year and Dylan Walker, because they're such great utilities, and Jazz can play hooker as well. There's been a lot of criticism about Webby's use of the bench all year, and no one has a solution. No one gets the theory here. What is the tactic? We're a team which is traditionally not necessarily the fittest team, and I'm not sure that we're getting any fitter this year. So why not make use of the resources? Yeah, is it a trust issue? Because, I've been fielding texts from my dad this whole season being like, he's been so pig-headed. When's he gonna finally switch RTS back? When's he gonna make use of the interchanges? Is it just that he has a group of players that he trusts and he doesn't want to stray away from that? Yeah, that's important, that trust thing, and, players feeling comfortable in their roles and all that. They don't call him Webb Lasso for no reason. He's definitely a holistic coach, if you like. That's the only reason I can see, is that he wants people to feel comfortable in their roles and not feel like they're under scrutiny every single minute of every game. Yeah. Do you think Sean Johnson would have made a difference to that game? Not this year. Mm-hmm. Even just the drop goal, he's got maybe the drop goal. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, of all the players we've got, he's a guy who can ice games. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, good call on that one. But Tamaiti's just done such a great job in that 7 jersey. He was played in the 18 jersey yesterday. But he's just done and for some reason he won't play them together anymore. Yeah, there just seems to be I think he's just finally admitted they don't click together, and then but that's brutal because Tamaiti's going to be our halfback presumably next year. So I don't know, benching him, how does that go for you next year? Is there just an aesthetic clash in that Sean Johnson's always been the handsomest guy at the club, and now there's a new handsomer, potentially, I'm not saying necessarily, it's down to individual tastes, but definitely a pretender for the crown of handsomest?
I think you've put you've hit the nail on the head there, Ben. I think that's exactly what it is. There's a problem there with, we talk about overlapping skill sets. You've got two beautiful, beautiful men, and Sean Johnson's walked out onto the field and just going, fucking hold on. Now, hang on.
Yeah.
Here's how this works, mate.
It's too much sexy on the field.
That's right. And I think if anyone's proven that this year, it's the Broncos. They've got too many hot dudes all across the park. And look how that's turned out for them. So, yeah, you're right. Maybe a few more Argos in the team next year. Could be the go.
Yeah, just to add to my gloomy mood about this NRL season, my other team lost to the Broncos in the weekend. So I'm really not... I'm just really not feeling this season. I'm kind of wishing it's over.
Yeah, well, I mean, mathematically, they asked Webby after the game, how do you feel, what's the plan for the rest of the season? And he goes, well, the highest we can finish is on 29 points. And we don't know how the other teams are going to go, so that could potentially get us in the top 8. So we're just going to fire a shot over the next 3-4 weeks, whatever it is. I don't think he actually believes that. But if the Warriors are out, who is your second team? It's usually the Cows, isn't it?
Yeah, Cows. So Cows lost to the Broncos. The Broncos have lost about 4 in a row, and then suddenly turned it around against my team in the weekend. So I just didn't have a great weekend on the NRL, I must admit.
Yeah, nah. Well, we're all focusing on the Olympics anyway. I think for me, I'm going to jump on the Bulldogs. They're going to be my second team this year.
Yeah, cool.
I like that. I think they've found something these last couple of weeks, and they're just firing shots. I would say, and I actually said this on the commentary, when we started that game, it looked like we were going to have a crack. And we did throughout the game, but it was a bit messy. But I felt like we were shifting early. Do you think we'll see a bit more of that? Do you reckon now that, it's kind of out of reach, do you think we'll just fire a few shots and have a crack?
That's what it did seem like, at the start of that game. And then Hurley Farnworth grabs the ball and runs 100 metres. And now I think we got shell-shocked after that.
Yeah, big time. We got Ray Gunshy. It was just a brutal knock back from Chance. So then our fullback's not there. Hamu Farnworth goes the whole length of the field. I don't know. How do you think? So presuming Sean's back for the rest of the season, do you think there'll be an element of the farewell tour of Sean Johnson that will help us?
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope. Have we got 2 more home games? So there was one against the Dogs. So that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, assuming I'll play that game, at least. And, I don't even know what's wrong with him, if I'm honest.
They said it was a quad issue. Now, right. I wonder if it must have happened between when he announced his retirement, because surely you don't announce your retirement if you know you're not playing that week.
Yeah.
So it must have felt, I don't know. I just hope he's back for those games. Anyway, yeah, like I said, the last game is the 23rd of August against the Bulldogs. That is sold out. 4 and 24 pack price pack is one of the only ways you can now get. This is a segue, by the way, Ben. Each month, the Mad Monday team are giving away.
Well done.
Thank you.
You're a skilled broadcaster.
4 tickets to the Warriors and 425 vouchers. To enter, just text the monthly keyword to 3236. Listen to podcasts, EPs like this one to find out the new keyword. And this month, it is game. So game to 3236, your last chance to get tickets to Sean Johnson's farewell game. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back with the stonker of the round. All right, now it is time for the stonker of the round. And it was Friday night's fixture between the Eels and the Panthers. In the end, it was 36-34, but this was one of the wildest games of the season, I think. Ben, where did you watch this one?
I was just watching this at home, and just a marvellous game. Amazing comeback from a champion side. I actually wanted to talk about the Panthers and how good they are. They are so good that when they win the whole competition, whoever they play in the grand final next year is so demoralised, generally has a shitter of a year the next year. So in 2021, in 2020 they played in 2021, I was right. They played the Rabbitohs and beat them in the grand final. The next year the Rabbits was 7th. The following year, they played the Eels in the grand final, and then the following year after that, the Eels were 10th. Last year, they played the Broncos, beat the Broncos in the final. The Broncos are currently 13th. So they not only beat them, they demoralised them.
Yeah,
That's how good this team is.
They ripped the beating heart out of them. The Rabbitohs and the Eels are second last and third last respectively this year. So
Yeah. So it's a continual slide. Once you lose to the Panthers in the grand final, you're poked for like 3 years.
Yeah, it's not like you just have a shitter the next season. No. This spirals. It rots. And that's why we did well to avoid the grand final last year, I think.
Yeah, that was a tactical move, and hasn't it served us well?
The highlight of this game for me, this game actually blew my mind. I was watching this round at a mate's place, and I got an Uber home at halfway through the second half. I was like, Panthers are going to ice this one. I got home to catch the end of it. I was just like, oh my God, what is going on? The most insane captain's challenge that you will see in a game of rugby league. So it was off the kickoff. The Eels kick it off. The Panthers knocked it on, and what I thought was one of the clearest knock-ons that you will see. And I wonder if it was just because it was the last 2 minutes, they're like, fuck it, stop the game, we'll just challenge it because we've got it up our sleeve. They challenged it. Not only was it a correct call, yeah, it was a stone-cold knock-on off the Panthers, they then found that Cleary had shepherded one of the players, and so that gave the Eels the chance at winning the game, or tying the game, right?
Which they blew.
Which they then blew. And this is not the first time that Gutho's done that this season, is it?
No. Look, Clint Gutherson's a great player, but Nathan Cleary is a champion, and that's the difference, isn't it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, just that whole Panthers team. I don't know.
And they keep losing players. Like, they keep, every year, I guess salary cap or, just because you win the competition and you're worth more, they'll lose 2 or 3 key players, and then they're back again. I mean, you can't see them missing the grand final this year. I think everyone assumes it's going to be a Storm Panthers final.
Yeah.
And that'd be 5 grand finals in a row.
Yeah. And I got to be honest, I think 4 championships in a row as well.
Well, yeah, that's what's on the line.
I was thinking that this game was a little closer than it needed to be. And the only note that I wrote down in this game was that if this was a playoffs game or a finals game, I feel like the Panthers would have actually taken this one away. I don't think they would have let it get as close as it was. I don't really understand why, but it just seemed like fresh off beating us, the Eels, they really found something there and then really pushed it.
They're the bogey team of Penrith, aren't they? They seem to have, it's this West Sydney rivalry situation. They seem to rise to the occasion versus Penrith, except in a grand final.
Except obviously in a grand final, and then subsequently every game since then. I do. If it was a finals game, I really think that the Panthers would have humped them in that one. Nathan Cleary, just another masterclass. He's by far the best player in rugby league right now, isn't he?
Yeah, how did you... Look, let's just do a little bit of Supercoach talk, because I had him at the start of the season, then he got injured, but I managed to keep him, and then he came back, and I was like, I'm feeling pretty good, because I still had him. I put him back in, and he was terrible for like 2 or 3 games. And so then I sell him, thinking, because then he gets injured again, then I sell him, and I think, oh, this is fine. He's not going to be the player this season that he usually is. And then how did you all know to buy him again? How did you all know?
I think it's one of those ones where it's like, if you're going to be wrong, how do you want to be wrong? And you want to be wrong by picking Nathan Cleary and he has a shitter, because I think that's, less likely than picking Nathan Cleary and he goes well. My whole thing was just, fuck it, you have to have Nathan Cleary. And I don't want to lose because the other guy did. Because then I'll be like, oh yeah, obviously you have to have Nathan Cleary. He's the best player.
But you must have sold him the first time when he got injured.
I bought him back. Yeah, I couldn't have played it any worse. I sold him, then mortgaged my team to bring him back when he first did the hammy again. So then I sold him again, and then brought him back early. It's paid off.
So you bought him back. You bought him 3 times.
Yeah.
Oh, right. See, I just didn't think he was going to be on the park for the rest of the season.
It didn't matter, because in our head-to-head league, Adams knocked me out this week anyway. But the only thing that kept me in it was I captained Ponga and he captained Cleary, and so I came within about 5 points. in the
Well,
end.
I was unbeaten in our league for the first 5 weeks. I've had a very similar season to the Brisbane Broncos in that I am now 7th on the table.
Yeah, you got out to a flyer and then
Yeah, I did.
just got reeled back in.
Yeah.
Um,
And it was the origin period that rooted me.
yeah.
Because I always just forget about that, and I always end up picking loads of origin players, which just screws you for that period.
Yeah, I got really arrogant because in our head-to-head league, I was ahead by quite a bit. And so then I started like trying to project ahead and get players in for like the run home. And then I dropped a game to you and I dropped the game to the guy who runs Flavor, the radio station. And then all of a sudden I lose this game, don't get a second shot at it. I'm more of an overall guy anyway, to be fair. Just quickly, I know we've got a Hurley's Heroes and we'll get to it in a sec. There was a couple of other things I wanted to mention before we got there. Did you see the Shane Flanagan, Stephen Crichton nose bite debacle?
No.
So he was as it happened, Stephen Crichton, I believe he had tackled Flanagan and then he pressed his head into Flanagan's head and his nose ended up in his mouth. And now there's a bit of conjecture as to whether Flanagan actually bit down or not. But when he came back up, Crichton had blood coming out of his nose. And when he's taking photos of fans after the game, he's got blood coming out of his nose. He's laid a formal complaint with the NRL, said that Kyle Flanagan bit his nose. And so that's in front of the judiciary this week. We'll probably find out by tomorrow whether it's happened or not. That's like a 6-week ban.
Yeah, that's like a Mike Tyson type situation.
Yeah.
A different sense organ.
Yeah. There was a photo I saw this morning and you could see his nose is in Flanagan's mouth and it's stretched out, you can see. So I was like, he's definitely bit him there. Brain explosion. And the other one I wanted to get to is, and I don't know whether, I've got a bit of like Trump derangement syndrome about this new 18th NRL franchise. There's all these stories, it was going to be the Kia in the South Island, then it was going to be Papua New Guinea. The latest story is that it's been confirmed that it's going to be the Bears and they're going to be playing out of Perth.
Oh, is that confirmed?
Well, this is the thing. Every report that I see says that it's all confirmed. But they said that about PNG. They said that about fucking the Kia. I don't know what's real anymore.
Well, I heard from somebody in the know in the weekend that there's going to be 3 new ones.
All in the one go.
That's what I had heard. And one of them will be the Bears. And that's all I know.
Oh, so maybe what's so confusing is they're all confirmed.
Maybe. Maybe it's a PNG, a Bears, and a South Island.
Southern Kia, yeah, potentially. All I know is, as someone with family that lives over in Western Australia, that flight to Perth sucks. It fucking sucks, man. Because it's like a 3-hour flight to wherever, Sydney or Melbourne, whichever way you go. It's another 5-6 hours over to Perth. Plus the time zone difference. Like it only serves to punish the Warriors further. But now, if we find out that they bring in PNG as well, I guarantee you, if that happens in the same season, the Warriors will be the only team who have to play Perth and then in Port Moresby back to back.
Are they going to play out of Port Moresby or they play out of Brisbane?
I don't know.
They have a team in the Queensland competition, don't they?
I don't know. I don't know if they do.
I think they do. I think there's a PNG team in the Queensland competition.
Yeah, right. I don't know how they're going to play that. I don't think it would work if they brought in a PNG team and then played them out of Brisbane, because I feel like you'd sort of end up where Moana Pacifica are, where it's like, it's a team for the Pacific Islands. It's like, you're not going to play out of there, though. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Western Bears apparently coming out of Perth.
The Western Bears. Well, I mean, I don't think that's really going to satisfy the North Sydney Bears fans who have felt aggrieved for many, many years.
No, I don't think so either. It's, I don't know. But again, like I said, you see these reports every other day. We'll find out that the Warrington Wolves are entering the NRL next year. Now, all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Hurley's Heroes. But just before we do, there's a couple of spots left on our trip. And for legal reasons, Hurley, you'll love this, to join the ACC team for a massive rugby league weekend in March of 2025. Can't tell you what's going on there, but we've got...
You can't? Oh, okay.
Nah.
But it's a rugby league themed weekend in the United States.
That's right. And the key word that you need to text to book your spot is Vegas. Now that, I don't want you to read too far into that for legal reasons, but massive rugby league weekend, first weekend of March 2025. If you want to join the ACC team, you can text Vegas to 3236 to book your spot. Quick break. We'll come back with Hurley's Heroes.
Okay, welcome to Hurley's Heroes. Just a little side note, the Papua New Guinea Hunters are a professional rugby league team based in Papua New Guinea. They play in the Queensland Cup. They are a feeder team for the Dolphins.
Oh, there you go.
But I was wrong about them being based out of Brisbane. They are in the competition, but they are a Port Moresby side. Anyway, let's get into this week's Hurley's Heroes. In light of Sean Johnson retiring, I thought we could take a look at another Warriors legend. I was a self-proclaimed average rugby union player at school, and when I moved to Wellington, I joined the Wellington Orcas Rugby League team and began attracting attention from professional clubs. I had offers from the Bulldogs and from the Parramatta Eels, but turned them both down to play for the Warriors. I played 301 games for the Warriors, scoring 63 tries. I averaged 76 minutes a game throughout my career and only missed 10% of the available games through injury. Since retiring, I did a building apprenticeship in Nelson. I've also done some assistant coaching roles with the Black Ferns and the Broncos NRLW team. Am I Simon Mannering, Stacey Jones, Michael Luck, Arwen Gutenbeil, or Lee Odin Ryan?
I like that there's a couple of extra ones in there because you knew you'd have to put Lee Odenrine in there, so you had to chuck a couple more red herrings in there. Look, unfortunately, I've just been out at Mount Smart Stadium. There's a giant mural. It's got a number on there that really gave it away. I also know about the apprenticeship thing, and in a couple of weeks, the Warriors are going to have their Night of Nights where they name the Clubman of the Year. That medal is named after the one and only Simon Mannering.
Yes, I thought it might be a little bit easy, but look, you know what? Well done, Manaia. And I just thought it would be nice just to think about a nicer time in Warriors history. And we love Simon Mannering, a very humble and private guy, definitely not a celebrity. Lives a pretty quiet life these days, I think.
Yeah.
But the player he was.
Oh, what a player he was. Yeah, you're right. That actually did spark a bit of joy in me. And like I said, there's a mural out there of him sort of like a Spartan from the movie 300, and it's got 301 on it. It's out in the car park out there at Mount Smart. God, how would you go being Warriors legend Simon Mannering just on various building sites? Can you imagine how hard he must get punished?
Oh my God. I thought exactly that when I was researching this. I was just like, you must spend your entire life talking about specific Warriors games, particularly the 2011 grand final, no doubt.
Yeah, that'd be a big part of it. But also, there'd be people like who would have such a firm memory of you doing something, but to the players themselves, it's like asking someone what they did at work 3 years ago on a Wednesday at 4 p.m. They're like, I have no fucking idea. Also, CTE is a part of it. But I think there'd also be the guy who hits you up straight away. Oh, I'm a huge fan, blah, blah, blah. There'd be the guy who sidles up to you at lunch. Hey, you're Simon Mannering, aren't you? Then there'd be the other guy who'd be like, oh, so you can play 300 games for the fucking Warriors, but you can't get the door hinges on by lunchtime.
Yeah, you can't put some framing timber up in the rain.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, God, yeah, I feel so much better about myself now just thinking back to club legend Simon Mannering.
I could get a Simon Mannering tattoo, I reckon. Yep.
Just about. Where would you get it? Of his face?
Maybe of his face, or maybe of just his jersey.
Simon Mannering jersey, just on the
Although
side of
he
your
played
neck.
quite a few different positions. So he played centre, he played lock, he played back row.
I think back row would be. That's what I associate him with when I think of the great man Simon Mannering. He did anything the club asked of him.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week. Hurley, greener pastures ahead, I'm sure. As we said, the last game for the Warriors, last home game for this season at least, is on the 23rd against the Bulldogs. I'm just frantically looking up who we've got this week. It is the Sea Eagles, who we've only played once this season. That was the draw.
Right. Yeah.
The draw at the start of the year. That is on Friday, 8 p.m, and I think that's Chris and Di commentating that one. We'll have another podcast episode on Thursday for you to sink your teeth in. But thank you very much for joining us, Hurley, and we'll see you later on.
See you, buddy.